Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Peter Llewellyn and I run the services at MedComms networking.com. So information services, resources, activities for people who work in and around medical communications, medical education, medical publishing and the associated businesses across the globe. We do all sorts of things. Go and look at medcommsnetworking.com, you'll see what's happening. One of the activities we get very involved in is running these webinars, and we capture a lot of video content. And you'll find lots of videos now. There's more than 500 over at NetworkPharma TV on all manner of topics related to MedComms and the associated businesses. But then specifically what we do also is we go out and we talk about MedComms to people who'd like to know more about our business and would like to get a job maybe as a medical writer or account manager and so on and so forth. You'll find lots of information specifically at firstmedcommsjob.com. So today we're running a webinar which is sort of under the First MedComms Job banner. It's for people who want to come into the business primarily, and I'm absolutely delighted we've got the guys from Inizio Medical who are going to talk about their Allegro program, specifically the allegro.DRIVE program, which is for the client service, aspiring client service types. So without further ado, Anna, I think we're over to you to kick us off.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting us along today to talk to you about the allegro.DRIVE program. First of all, we're just going to share our slides, and we will start by introducing ourselves as well. Okay, so just to introduce myself, I am Anna. I'm the Client Services Director for Allegro. So I've been in MedComms for about 16 years now. I started my career as an account executive and built up to Senior Account Director on the business side of things. And then I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to come and join and work with the Allegro team. I've always been really passionate about developing people, the management side of things, and helping with the training. So it's a really great opportunity for me to have joined this team. Over to Katie.
Thanks, Anna. So I am Katie Caine. I'm the Recruitment Business Partner for the Allegro team, and I've been with the business coming up to 7 years now. And over that time, I've mainly been supporting within our entry-level recruitment. So as Allegro has expanded and grown, I've been a part of that process as well. And I'll just move on to give you a quick introduction to Inizio Medical. So who are we? Essentially, Inizio Medical is a group of agencies that work across the life cycle of a drug. So we support our pharma clients through all aspects of medical communications, and we'll support in areas such as medical writing, publication planning, strategic communication planning, lots of events, including meetings, advisory boards, and so on, and generally activities you would expect to see in a typical MedComms business. At Inizio Medical, well, we were established a couple of years ago as a group within the Inizio parent holding company. And Inizio Medical is actually made up of 3 global MedComms agencies, Apothecom, Ashfield MedComms, and Nucleus Global, along with 2 specialised services agencies, Medistrava and Medivoke. And our remit within the Allegro model is to bring in entry-level client services team members across the 3 MedComms agencies. And looking at Inizio Medical more broadly, we have just over 2,000 staff globally. They are split across 29 locations in 13 countries. And our workforce is made up of office, hybrid, and remote workers. And across the group, we work with almost 300 clients across countless therapy areas. And within the business, we've got a large percentage of employees with a scientific background. So bringing in people with BScs, MScs, PhDs, all kinds of backgrounds. And as I mentioned, with almost 300 active client counts across the group, in terms of what that looks like and who we work with, we'll partner with the top 20 pharma companies, along with many pharma, biotech, medical device businesses. And essentially, as a MedComms agencies, we provide consultancy services to the pharma industry as experts in communication. So all of our agencies tend to do similar types of work, from publications to med affairs and commercial projects, and working across those clients on a global scale. And our teams internally will vary from size and location, really depending on the client needs, the volume of work, and the projects delivered. So looking at, all phases of the life cycle of drug development. And as you might have guessed, all of that activity means that a lot of things go on a daily basis. So this slide really gives a snapshot of a typical year in one of our MedComms agencies. So it really highlights the variety of work that we work on. Our account teams are made up of client services, writers, editorial support, and creatives who will all work really closely together to complete these wide range of projects. And as you can see, there's lots of publications activities. So that would include abstracts, posters, manuscripts. There's also lots of meeting-based work. There's also a ton of presentations, so slide materials along with digital projects. And the type of activity also varies depending on the audience. So we'll do a range of materials for lay audiences, patients, caregivers, as well as the more technical, scientific types of materials going out to experts in those therapy areas. So when you're trained through allegro.DRIVE, you'll gain exposure to a lot of these project types across your early years. And it really gives you a flavour of the type of work that we deliver across the agencies. Yeah, just to hand back over to Anna then.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to Allegro and the Allegro model. So we are part of Inizio Medical, and we focus on the resourcing, training and development of all our staff across our 3 MedComms agencies. So Allegro was a training concept that was introduced in 2017, about 5 years ago. And at the time, it was innovative in its way in terms of building talent pipelines within our business. And we've evolved over the past 5 years to really expand these programs that we've got and the locations in which we operate. So moving on to introduce you to the team and who we are. So this team is a dedicated team, very much focused on the recruiting, training and development of all the staff that come in at entry level and beyond. And over here you have Neil, our Vice President. He was the founder of the Allegro program over 5 years ago, and he heads up our team. There's Nikki, who's the program director for the Allegro Write program, bringing in aspiring medical writers. And then there's me, I lead the client services program for allegro.DRIVE, which is what we're talking about today, bringing in account executives into the business for that entry level training. And as you can see, we're supported by a wider team as well, who assist with all the program development, with the training side of things, managing new hires into the business. And we're really lucky, as our full-time job, we're really lucky to have a large team that is spread across the UK offices. And this is really helpful when we're delivering that in-person training. We've got Glasgow, Manchester, Macclesfield and London as our 4 key places. And we do some of this training on a regular basis in the offices as well, and lots of opportunity for social activities across our office locations, not only within your cohorts, but also within your account teams as well. So when you join the business, you can expect to see a lot of us. We travel around and do training sessions, as much face-to-face training as we can do. But also at the outset of your career, you'll see us for training, but then as you progress through your career as well, we support as mentors across the business to help you with your future career development. So Allegro is a resourcing and accelerated development model which works across the whole of Inizio Medical. And the programs really enable you to kickstart your career in MedComms, providing that high-level training from a team of experts who are dedicated to this role in particular, and also enabling you to gain some real life experience working within our account teams. So upon joining Allegro, you would be allocated to one of our 3 agencies within Inizio Medical, so Apothecom, Ashfield MedComms or Nucleus Global. And we've put this model in place to really help to provide a consistent way of training people across these 3 agencies as part of the group. So to tell you a bit more about our heritage and the programs, so launched in 2017 with the aim to bring talented people in who deliver excellence to our clients and across the healthcare industry. We started with the Allegro Write program back in 2017, as mentioned, bringing in our associate medical writers. But this program is now available across the UK, South Africa and Greece. And then more recently, we've embarked on the allegro.DRIVE entry-level client services program, which is what we're talking about today. to build upon the heritage of a programme that was in existence at Nucleus Global Academy, which has also been running for about 5 years and was a very established and successful model. And we're really excited to be able to collaborate with the teams across Inizio Medical to have developed a programme built upon the success of all our existing programmes across the Inizio group. So allegro.DRIVE is really going to give people the opportunity to start their career in MedComms, to be able to understand the role of client services through the dedicated training that we offer, as well as the on-the-job experience as part of the training. But it's not just all about the entry level. We're also focused on building people's future careers through our Excel program, which we have on offer to people who have want to progress their career to the next level. And we're looking at expanding this program across Inizio Medical as well to support all our agencies. So as you can see from what we've been talking about, our programs are built on a really strong heritage over the 5 years of experience that we have collectively. And within that time, we've been really lucky to be able to offer 250 plus opportunities to join the business through Allegro, with 80% retention, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's great to see people join and continue to grow and develop their careers with us here. So we're able to offer award-winning training and mentoring from a dedicated team and enable that on-the-job experience to continue that support in your career development. We also really pride ourselves in having built a strong community of alumni who will support new starters to integrate into the business and within their account teams as well. The overall ethos of Allegro, the model, is to really help people build a career that suits their strengths as well. People really do well in an environment that celebrates their strengths, and that's really what our main ethos is. And I've already mentioned our heritage, so I'll go on to say that really now, as part of Inizio Medical, we're very excited to be able to collaborate with our colleagues at all our agencies to develop these industry-leading programs that can stretch across the group. So it's really important as well to explain that our culture means a lot to us. The environment we work in and the way we like to work is very important. And we have a number of key ambitions as a business that we need to ensure we are being responsible at covering: the environment, sustainability, diversity, equality and inclusion. So we're really delighted that all our offices are now single-use plastic free. And we also hold regular community action days, which gives us an opportunity to go out into the community and really feel like we can make a difference. We have teams at all levels supporting our diversity, equality and inclusion policies. And it's so important to us that we create a culture that means people feel part of the team and valued. And we have many social events and sports events that go on across the year. So lots to get involved in, lots of social activity, as you can see from the photographs here. So allegro.DRIVE and the programme itself, I'm going to walk you through now what it really means to us. And from allegro.DRIVE perspective, it's all about developing those skills in scientific project management. So building client relationships, working to understand financial processes and build that financial acumen. So there's a lot of project management involved in this role. And you work in collaboration across the teams to build your confidence and your ability during the training phase, but also having excellent support around you to network with the trainers, with the cohort you're working with, and with your account teams as well. So it provides a solid introduction to MedComms and really helps you understand through our dedicated training sessions what it's like to be an account executive and be part of the MedComms business. So we're hiring into 4 office locations: Glasgow, Manchester, Macclesfield and London. So when applying to the role, please let us know on your preferred location. Our training teams are split across these locations, and you would need to be in one of these offices for the in-person training. But with the DRIVE programme, we also bring you together in one location so that we can all have that face-to-face time as well. But it's great because some face-to-face sessions also will take place in your local offices. So what is the role of an account executive? I'm going to walk you through kind of some of the key skills and attributes, the things that we do within the team, just to give you a flavour of what to expect. So when you join, you'd be working as part of a fast-paced environment in a thriving team, focused on delivery of projects in an efficient and an effective way. And I always like to think of client services and the role of an account executive in particular as being the glue that holds the pieces together. We're the orchestrators of all the moving parts. We're the collaborators talking to all the various different stakeholders across the business and within our client networks. So you'd be responsible for managing lots of different aspects of ongoing projects, maintaining project schedules, updating people on the progress of projects, covering budgets, etc. And you'll also be, as I mentioned, a key contact for your internal colleagues and your clients, and focused on building really strong, long-lasting relationships with your clients. It's also really important that as an account executive, you understand the therapy areas that we work in. So we understand the client needs, the products that they're working on, what communication objectives they have, and the strategies that they're working towards. So that's one big part of the role. And then finally, an integral part of the role of an account executive is to manage the financial aspects of projects that you're working on, including things like budget development, reconciling post-project, invoice scheduling, etc. So these make up the main parts of the role of an account executive. And so what does the program look like? So it's currently a 16-week program where you would start out as an associate account executive and progress to the level of account executive after 16 weeks. So once the recruitment phase has taken place, which will identify those suitable for the role, you'd be allocated to an agency and account team, and that will enable that hands-on experience and learning from the outset. So during the 16 weeks, you would experience training with a dedicated team to help you build confidence in project management and business skills in a very safe learning environment, as well as having opportunities to work directly with your team, have exposure to clients, work on specific live projects, and consolidate the learnings from the training. And throughout this whole journey of those 16 weeks, you'll be supported by a large team. So you have support from a training team member, you have your own dedicated line manager, a buddy who you can talk to, ask questions, troubleshoot, and also a mentor who's somebody with a lot of experience who's been in the business a while. Once you've completed that 16 weeks, obviously we continue to develop your career. We have a lot of support from the Allegro team, but also within your teams that you'll be working with to help you progress in your career and develop to senior levels. How is the training delivered? So I mentioned before, lots of face-to-face and interactive sessions, some sessions obviously virtual, but we try and mix this up to give that variety. You'll also have that opportunity to put your skills into practice working within your account teams. There's group work and opportunity to learn from people around you, which is great. And also, as mentioned, dedicated time, individual feedback from trainers and mentors to give you coaching and help you to progress along your journey and support your career path. In terms of an overview of the programme, so I mentioned it's a mix of group learning and practical reinforcement experiences, lots of group activities, hands-on experience within the existing accounts. And you have this opportunity over the 16 weeks to build skills across a range of MedComms deliverables, to find out about the project and financial management, and also to start to build skills in client engagement and overall communication skills. So you can see here there's a lot covered over the 16 weeks, but we put it into some key buckets of things that would need to be covered. So you'd start with your onboarding, an introduction to medical communications, how to network across the business, how to network with clients, how to be effective in your communications, and also getting that understanding of the pharmaceutical industry, drug development. Moving into areas such as project management and financial management, where you'd be putting some of these skills into practice within your teams, but you'd also have training on effective project planning and delivery, finding out about the financial processes, and also commercial awareness for the business side of things. Moving on to working with clients, really important to build those client relationships. So we cover a lot about understanding our clients, what their role is, working with multiple stakeholders. Onto the core deliverables for the clients, so meetings and congresses, the publications activities we do, and along with a variety of other different types of deliverables that we offer to our clients. So I'm going to just hand over to Katie to now talk about the recruitment process and how you get involved.
So yeah, these next few slides will give you a brief overview on the recruitment process and what to really expect when applying for allegro.DRIVE. So in terms of what we look for, we're looking for open-minded, engaged people who will enjoy working in dynamic teams. So we recruit people straight from university, as well as people who have already had a career. And we're looking to really build diverse teams with people from a variety of backgrounds and experiences. And what that boils down to is finding people who are passionate about improving the lives of patients through scientific communication. They're people who aren't afraid of taking new challenges, people who enjoy interacting with other people, particularly having that focus on project management, client relationships. All of those things are really fundamental when considering who's appropriate and would succeed in client services roles. So here's just a little bit about how you could potentially prepare if you were thinking about a career as an account executive. And there are many ways in which you can practice these skills ahead of applying to roles. So project management skills, potentially looking at things like getting involved in organising events, learning how to multitask effectively. It might be simple things such as organising get-togethers within your friendship group, or it could also be more formally around university societies, clubs that you're part of, being able to demonstrate that you've got the ability to problem solve. So client services in reality is a lot of thinking on your feet, being proactive, being able to ensure that the ship is sailing smoothly at all times. So with that comes staying calm under pressure and being able to collaborate. Collaboration feeds really well into that relationship point. So as Anna said, you are the conductor of all of these moving parts within your role. So extracurricular activities you can do within your degree, alongside your degree, your part-time work, your volunteering, all of these elements that involve some level of relationship building, communication practice, especially when aspects of that might be challenging. It might be working in hospitality or retail where you're dealing with particularly tricky customers. And then there's also merit in saying that do your research and think about what elements of your existing skill set would you like to apply and pull out as transferable skills in a client services roles. So as a given, that passion for science is there, but it's also that opportunity of flexing that project management muscle or that budget management experience. And websites such as Peter's first MedComms job website, the MedComms networking group, they are a real wealth of tales and anecdotes and guidance on what to really expect when you're getting into the industry. So being an account executive is not just about, skills such as project management. It's all of those transferable skills linked to that you would gain from these types of extracurricular activities, work experience, career experience. So the application process. So on average, we'll recruit about twice a year. And when you apply, we'll review your CV and cover letters before progressing to a writing test. And the test is likely to be based on competencies linked to digesting and communicating key information. If that's passed successfully, you would then go through to the screening and online video application before attending an in-person assessment day. So the in-person assessment centres are made up of a group task, an interview, really designed at looking at your soft and transferable skills. And there's also ample opportunity across that day to network with people that have been through the programme, as well as more senior leaders within the business from different agencies as well. And just to talk in a bit more detail about what that looks like is there'd be a mix of competencies that we're looking at the competency-based interview. So you will have heard of the STAR technique, that kind of competency approach interviews. There'll be a short on-site task, which is based on a clinical symposium. And then the group task is more a case of demonstrating key attributes and skills for the roles, working collectively in collaboration with team members. And as I mentioned, there's that networking opportunity to speak to people throughout the day, in a non-assessed format, so you can really get under the skin of what is the training like, what does the job involve, and really we would view that assessment day as a two-way street. You know, it's your opportunity to grill us as well to make sure that this kind of program would be right for you, as much as it is an opportunity for us to see if you work well within the business. But yeah, just to recap on that, where you would be best placed finding more is the Allegro website. So that sits within the broader Inizio Medical website. And there's a wealth of information on there about recruitment timelines, specific information about the program, what we offer, you know, blog posts and testimonials from people within the business as well. And these are just some more of our keep in touch points. So we're most active on our LinkedIn pages and our websites. That's where we'll post day-to-day activities. It's a good place to stay in touch about recruitment dates and information. And if you wanted to reach out directly about specific inquiries, then we have that email address there as well for contacting us on allegro.inquiries@inizio.health. So Peter, that just about finishes up our slides. So I'll stop sharing there and we can maybe get cracking on a bit of Q&A.
A bit of Q&A, yeah, no, that's brilliant. Thank you, guys. So to those of you in the audience today, please do use either of the text boxes to fire some questions at us and we'll weave them into the conversation. I'm at the risk of embarrassing myself because you said it and I missed it, sort of thing. Can I just kind of clarify a couple of things maybe? I think we should just cover off, I know you did say it, but we should just cover this off. So this is we're talking about allegro.DRIVE, it's UK only, yeah? We've had a couple of questions come in about geographical locations, what happens in the States and so on. So accepting the fact that we're talking about a UK only program at the moment, A, is the intention to spread elsewhere, and B, what's happening in the meantime? Just give people a sense of what they do if they're not in the UK. Can you do that?
Yeah, so I'll take on. Yeah, so yeah,
Katie, go Katie.
Is UK based. It might be that we look at expanding it on a similar pattern to the way we've expanded the Allegro Right program, so mirroring that. In the interim for client services roles at entry level, the different locations such as our US teams, they are currently recruiting on an ad hoc basis, you know, as and when teams need new support or new hires within their business units. So yeah, you'd still be able to find, for example, in the US and other locations, independent account executive type level roles, but in the UK, our main route into the business now is through the allegro.DRIVE model and those set recruitment dates.
Okay, and again, to cover off a couple of, there's obvious points I know, but to cover it off, because we get asked, if you're outside the UK and you're wanting to come into the UK on a visa or something, are you sponsoring visas? How flexible are you around those sorts of questions?
Yeah, so as it stands in the UK, and again for our other locations such as South Africa, Greece and the US, we don't have a license to sponsor visa applications. So in order for you to apply, you would need to have permanent residency or the permanent right to work in that location. And as Anna mentioned, a lot of the training is delivered face-to-face and hybrid. You'd actually need to be based in that country as well.
Okay, right. So let's stick with the UK because that's what we're focused on. And again, just to clarify, so you've got offices around the country. You want people in the office at least a lot of the time. But I think, again, I slightly missed the point. Does somebody have to be in the office all the time in those 16 weeks, or is there an element of hybrid working?
So yeah, once you've joined your teams, you will be able to be based either at home or in the office. Obviously, we try to encourage being in the office as much as possible because it is great from a networking perspective with your cohort and with your teams. But yes, there is an option for the hybrid working model, and that does work for everyone across the business. During the training weeks, we will need people in the office, but those are across the 16 weeks. You'll have some time where it's training weeks, some time within your teams. So it's mixed, and we give plenty of notice if there's a requirement to travel, and we support with the travel and accommodation as needed as well to ensure people can be where we need them to be for training.
Okay, so I'm going with my quick fire questions, but covering off quite a few questions as I'm going. You come in as an associate account executive.
Correct.
Yeah. And at the end of 16 weeks, do you become an account exec if you pass?
If you meet the objectives of the program, yes.
Okay, and then you're in and then you know the career pattern is account exec, account manager, senior account manager, account director sort of thing. Yeah. Okay. Just that it might be worth saying to people if they're listening to this, because we're quite often talking about writing and so we don't often have an opportunity to talk about account management and client services side. It was interesting to me to begin with because you're talking very much about client services, but the terminology can get a bit mixed up underneath that. So you come in as associate account exec, but other terminology they'll see around the industry, like project managers and things like that. You know, that's the sort of terminology that's used. Yeah. Okay, so that makes some sense. All right. Do you need a life science? You said a passion for science. Do you need a life science degree to come into your program for client services?
Yeah.
That's an absolute, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
All right. Okay, so from an industry point of view, it might be just worth making the point that probably unlike on the writing side, it's not absolute, but it's certainly on the account management, project management side, there is more scope for people without life sciences to come into the industry. But to be clear, on your program, you need a life sciences background, which is great. Okay. Do you, someone's just coming, Odette's coming in saying, if I've got previous experience in the industry, but I'm looking to progress and I want to come and join your program. Okay. Okay. So does anybody coming in have to go onto the Allegro Drive? Oh, I see what she's, sorry, I'm seeing what she's saying. So at entry level, you come in on Allegro Drive, but if you've got some experience in the industry, you come in and you're on the Allegro Excel program. In principle, if you come in at a higher level, you're
so you'd come in through a different recruitment angle, I guess. If you were applying for an account manager role, that wouldn't be through this entry level program.
That's different anyway. Okay, I've got you. Sorry, I was missing the point of that question, I think. Question, again, it came in somewhere, prompted a thought. I think someone literally said they've applied to join the Allegro Write program. Can they change their Mandan Drive, change to the Allegro Drive program? How does that work, and how much do you do at your end to assess somebody and say, I think they'd be better off on that program or the other program? How's that work, Katie?
Yeah, so in an ideal world, you would have an idea ahead of applying what your preference might be, because it might be that your skill set lends itself to one role over another. Throughout the recruitment process for each role, we will be keeping a lookout, you know, when you see applications come through and think, actually, I'm not seeing much about writing here, but I'm seeing a lot of project management skills or attributes. So we will, in occasions, reach out to that person and say, actually, I've seen you've applied to this. Have you also considered this opportunity? And again, it will happen when we're at the assessment centre. For example, we'll see somebody and think, actually, they seem much better suited to that type of work. So we're able to keep a lookout and flag it, but also in that situation of this person, for example, if they were unaware about one program and they want to swap their applications, if you just reached out to me directly or got in touch via the email, then we can link up and make sure that's pulled across.
And from a personal point of view, I think it's interesting because I'm not quite sure where the fault lies, but you know, we get a lot of people coming towards MedComms assuming that we're all medical writers and not realizing that there are different roles there. So again, it's nice to highlight those other roles. And at the meetings and things, we quite often get people coming in saying, I thought I wanted to be a writer, but now I realize I want to go in this direction. So I guess it's just worth making that point to people that there are different roles. Do your research, which you've said, but also the fact at your end that you can guide a little bit. I suppose maybe you've touched on it already, but can you add anything to it? If somebody walks towards you, as it were, what's your sense? You know, writer or account exec type, but what you know, can you get a sense? Is it as simple as that? I don't know quite what I'm asking there, but do you spot someone from 100 paces and go, they're going to go that way or that way?
I think across the board, we're looking for strong communicators. So we would hope that everyone joining the business, whether it was a writer or on the client services side, had similar skills and attributes. Obviously, doing the role of a writer and doing the role of account management is different, but as a business, we're looking for similar skills in terms of ability to communicate. So I don't know if you would know if someone walked straight up to you whether they would be suitable for that role of a writer or an account executive position, because I think there are so many skills that overlap. If you want to add anything to that.
And I'd say it's more about gathering information from that person. What makes them tick? Is it that they enjoy being the person that ties everything together, or do they prefer to generate the content? You know, it all depends on what they think their preferences might be. But yeah, there's no kind of Harry Potter sorting hat to put people into the right thing. It's more of where do you feel your skill set would lend itself to. But it's also worth mentioning that it's not a forever decision. So there are people that within the business that have gone in one route and have eventually changed. Other people get itchy feet after a while and they want to try the other things out. So that's why it's kind of beneficial for us to have that scientific background as a prerequisite to allow you that option to be fluid if you felt you needed it further down the line. But I think at entry level, there's enough information out there for people to get a better understanding of what the two opportunities involve to help direct their application. Because obviously their applications would probably look slightly different in terms of the skills and experiences that they're pulling out in a cover letter to tailor it to the things that we're looking for in each program.
It's very difficult, isn't it? I mean, you know, it's tempting to try and talk about it like silos, and it's not like silos. Odette's saying, you know, she's got a passion for science, might wanting to go to writing, but I don't have a PhD. But your message would be, well, you don't need a PhD, sort of thing. So I mean, people sort of latch onto these things, but it's not like that. It's a spectrum of people coming to a spectrum of roles, and I think again, the more people can listen to you talking, they'll understand that. And once they get in, there are lots and lots of opportunities to move around. I think, you know, doors open remarkably quickly in this business. Okay. What else are the people asking us we ought to be covering off? Oh, I missed some questions at the bottom there. Okay. There's a question came in about how do you get noticed?
That's
I mean, it's one of those. I mean, it is a great question, really, because okay, fine, there's a system there. I can, you know, but have you got any tips what to do or what not to do, maybe?
I think, well, I can say from a client services perspective, it's about building relationships in the role as an account executive. So as I mentioned, you're a collaborator across all the people within the business, but also with your clients. So being able to, having confidence to talk to people, being able to network among people, demonstrating that you will just start a conversation and that you can be professional in an environment. And I think that really puts you in a good position.
Yeah.
I guess the problem with that is they've got to meet you in order to show those sorts. I mean, the assessment day is good from that point of view, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Casey, you can answer that from your perspective, having reviewed many CVs.
I'd say the academics are, you know, we want to know what you did, what your focus was on, but I guess a lot of it comes from their experiences that you'll have had outside of that. So, you know, are you proactive? Are you self-starting? You know, those are the key things that we look for. So it might be references to extracurricular work, hobbies, you know, all the things that we've said around demonstrating skills that are linked into what you might see in the job description. So that teamwork, the communication. But yeah, I would say be mindful of formatting. Even though it's not a writing role, we'll still expect there to be excellent attention to detail, you know, excellent grammar, excellent punctuation, because again, you are the face when talking to clients. So yeah, even though you might not be producing abstracts, you'll be producing briefs, emails, documents that need to be 100% accurate and perfect. So yeah, it's a lot of those things that you could say really applies to all entry-level roles about tailoring your application, attention to detail, good written English language skills, good transferable skills, that kind of stuff.
I think don't be afraid to tell us about who you are as well in your cover letter. Don't just focus on the academics. Like Katie said, we want to understand about who people are as a person, what other skills they have that they've built up during their time at university, whether that's being part of a sports team or doing something else extracurricular that's kind of helped to enhance their life experience to date. So we want to know about that. We don't just want to know what you've done in your academic past.
I mean, I don't know what you feel about this, but I do have a tendency to tell people that it's not so much how do I stand out, as in how am I going to be better than the rest of them at the stage of applying for a job. It's a question of it's so easy to sort of stand out for the wrong reasons and be dismissed. So, you know, if you don't, I don't know, like you're saying, attention to detail is so important, and it's absolutely important on this side as much as writing anything else. You know, if you're writing a cover letter badly, if you're addressing it to the wrong person, if you've been asked to do some sort of test and you don't do what you're told to do, I mean, it's very, very easy for you guys to go, they can't read what I've asked them to do, they're no use to me, they can't address it properly, they you know, whatever. And it's the silly things that actually a lot of people fall down on. And I think if everyone stops for a moment, especially in this business where on LinkedIn you see a job ad and you apply or something, you know, and you get job applications 10 minutes after putting in, they haven't thought about it. And I think this is just something that, you know, generally it's just a bit of advice for anybody, is stop and think. And my experience, I say this a lot, my experience is agencies like yours aren't trying to catch people out, they're not playing games with people. So to the applicant, stop and think, read what you're what you're being given, and if they're asking you to do X, don't do 2X because you're trying to be clever or half X because you missed what the point was, sort of thing. Is that making some sense? I mean, it's difficult being very specific about it, but as a general advice, I think a lot of people just fall over for stupid reasons. And I suppose the risk then is, I mean, frankly, if they've applied to you and you've thrown them out for stupid reasons, let's call it that sort of language, it's very difficult to get back into the game, isn't it? The truth is, yeah. So they want to think about it as they're going and be careful about that. Okay, all right, that makes some sense. Somebody's asking about age restrictions. Okay, so just out of interest, how far do you want to go with this? But you know, there's a tendency to assume we just want bright young, you know. But the truth is actually. And a program like yours is very inclusive, isn't it? I didn't hear what you said about numbers. Sorry, I think you said basically a couple of times a year you're bringing people in, but give us a sense of the sort of numbers that you actually are taking on, and context. You know, how many people are applying? You know, for a program of how many people? Just give us a bit of context there. I know it'll vary a bit.
So across the 2 intakes per year, we probably bring in on average around 50 new associate account executives.
Sorry, was that 50? 50?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say at application phase, it is fairly competitive. We might expect to see a couple of 100 applications come through, which will whittle down throughout the testing and assessment centre process. So it's about that number. But in terms of backgrounds, it's people with, you know, postdoc, PhD, masters, undergrads. It's people that have worked, you know, as sales teachers. You know, it's a really mixture of backgrounds, really. But I think throughout our more robust recruitment process, we're able to pick out the skill sets and really the potential for them to suit that role. So yeah, it's quite a mixed background.
Okay. We used to sort of flippantly say this was a great business to be in if you wanted to see the world. What do you think, Anna? I mean, you must have done a lot of traveling in your time. It's changed over the last couple of years.
I mean, not in the last couple of years
like now.
So much for me, but I do some training on this actually, where we talk about how many times we've been on site, and I think over the 16 years, it's looking like over 50 times that I would have travelled somewhere, whether that's for a client meeting or to a congress. You know, you do get to travel with this role, and it is opening back up in terms of post-COVID now. We are seeing a lot more travel to congresses. The teams are going out on site all the time. And, you know, it's not just travel within Europe. I've been to Australia, the US, all over the place. And it's really one of the best parts of the job as well, because you see all your work come to life. So, yeah, I mean, I've always been really passionate about travel. And that was one of the reasons I got into the role. And it's proved to enable me to do lots of traveling, we gain lots of work experience, meet lots of interesting people. So yeah, definitely that is still happening.
Good. Although I always used to add the caveat that it can sound quite exciting and quite glamorous, but it's not necessarily the case.
It's hard work. It's always hard work.
It can be hard work.
It's very rewarding. Like I said, you kind of see all that work come to life. So you might be working to prepare for something for months, but then when you see it come to life and you're away and you're with your colleagues, and there's just a real sense of achievement after. So definitely worthwhile. Okay.
And that's something that, you know, is worth emphasizing. I mean, when you're talking about the achievement and so on, a lot of people, when we're in these sorts of discussions, talk about there's a real sense of you're doing something for patients at the end of the day. I mean, we are doing something to, you know, communicate information about medicines and disinformation, and there's a benefit to patients at the end of the day, and that usually comes through quite strongly when you're talking to people in and around our business, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Look, we're probably out of time. So I think we've covered most of the questions. Those of you watching us, please do stick around. We're here for another few minutes. So we can cover off another couple of questions. But just for the purposes of the recording, I'm going to say a huge thank you to Anna and Katie for joining us. I know I can talk for you and say you're very happy for people to contact you. LinkedIn is an easy way, or you've also provided the Allegro details, the website, and so on. So thank you everyone for joining us. I'm just going to ask you, give us a little wave. If you're interested in what I'm doing, MedComsNetworking.com, obviously reach out to me if I can help at all. But thank you to you two for coming and talking about Inizio and the Allegro program. A little wave and we'll stop the recording. Bye.